If you live in Canada or you love hockey, you know Don Cherry. Legendary sportscaster doesn't quite do it justice. He's also deeply involved in protecting dogs, something that some of us appreciate. Anyway, Don Cherry, after a very long career, was fired after this Sunday night's broadcast of Hockey Night in Canada for saying this.
I live in Mississauga. Nobody wears, very few people wear a poppy. Downtown Toronto, forget it, downtown Toronto, nobody wears a poppy. Now, you go to the small cities, and you know those, the rows on rows, you people love, you that come here, whatever it is, you love our way of life, you love our milk and honey. At least you could pay a couple of bucks for poppies or something like that. These guys pay for your way of life that you enjoy in Canada. These guys paid the biggest price.
So, for some reason, that was considered unbelievably over the line in Canada. By the way, buying poppies on Remembrance Day is a long-standing Canadian tradition, a way to honor their fallen soldiers. And by the way, a lot of Canadians died in the two wars. Look it up. It's kind of amazing. So far, Mr. Cherry stands by his comments, and we're proud to have him on our show tonight. Thanks so much, Don Cherry, for coming on tonight. So,
well, first of all, I got to tell you, Tucker, that Bobby Orr is watching, and he's a big fan of yours, and Liz is all excited because she's from Boston. Liz is from Boston. Mom's watching, so I had to say that right off the start.
Well, amen. I'm glad he married an American. I did, too, and it's worked out. So tell us, for those of us who aren't Canadian, what you said, unless I'm misunderstanding it, you're basically saying we have a day where we honor the men who died fighting for Canada, and people who moved to Canada, because it's a great country, and it is, I think, should acknowledge that and join in our tradition because it's worth remembering these guys who died. Is that what you were saying?
I was saying, and evidently, I did a great thing, I thought, on Mastomy, and he had his book about diabetes. I did for two young lads that died, 15 and 17. That was never mentioned. I did a great thing, I thought, for 1,500 troops that were at a hockey game at Brampton, and they were all forgotten. The one thing that got me, it was you people. And I suppose if I had it to do over again, I would have said everybody, but you people are the people that they listen to. The silent majority, as you know, are always silent. The police are with me, the forces are with me, everybody's with me, and the firefighters, the whole deal. But it doesn't make any sense. And I was brought in, and I was told that I was fired after 38 years. And, I stand by what I said, and I still mean it.
So, I mean, I think what you were saying, tell me if this is what you're saying, that people who move to Canada ought to at least nod at the traditions of Canada. Like, why is that controversial?
Don't ask me. And the big thing is, I should have said, if I had come through, if I had been smart and protected myself, I should have said everybody should be wearing a poppy.
Yeah, well,
like I went downtown Toronto. Yeah, and that's fair enough for the whole thing. It's the two words that got it, that you people, and as you know, people are very sensitive like that, and that's they got me. But listen,
well, they're not. I mean, if I just clarify, they're not sensitive at all. They're fascists. They're not. They actually have no real feelings. They're faking their outrage. They're trying to crush you because they want to exert power because it makes them feel big when actually inside they're small. But you, just to clarify, you didn't. Did you mean to say something hateful?
No, I didn't, and and we're all immigrants and the whole deal. And but I knew, and nothing happened that night, and nobody said anything that night. And they ran it that night, and they read it later, and the whole deal. And the funny thing is, I never heard a thing that night. I heard it the next day. At the silent majority is, as you know, is always silent, and the other people, whoever they wanted to be, they listened to them. And after 38 years, but I have no problem. 38 years. This Saturday will be the first time in 38 years that I've never been on Hockey Night in Canada.
How much has Canada changed in those 38 years?
I think they've changed a lot, but when you get to the smaller cities, they haven't changed at all. They have in Toronto. They have where I live in Mississauga, Ontario, they have changed. But when you get to the smaller cities, and the United States are the same way, when you get to the smaller cities, they haven't changed at all.
No. I mean, you go up to northern Quebec, and the people, I mean, it was that way 50 years ago.
It was, and you go to the small cities around Ontario, and they haven't changed at all. They still wear their poppies. All I was saying is, in Toronto, wear your poppy. These soldiers died for our way of life,
exactly.
and we should exactly. They went over. They're young men. I had a granduncle and an uncle die. Sergeant Thomas Willie McKenzie. They died so we could have our way of life, our milk and honey and all that their stuff, and then at least wear a poppy in their honor. That's all I was saying.
I don't think that's a lot to ask. And I would say, by the way, for our audience, if they're interested in learning more about you or the foundation that you started to help dogs, which is another great cause, Google Don Cherry. He's a famous man. Great to have you tonight. Thank you very much for coming on our show.
Yeah, and Bobby and I and Liz and everybody, and it's an honor to be on, and thanks very much, Tucker.
Thank you very much.